Hello and welcome back, adventurers, to another episode of Cooking Through Exquisite Exandria. Today we are venturing south into the continent of Marquet, where we will be making ourselves some Suncut Semolina Porridge with a dried fig compote. Let's dive right in and get started. To make the fig compote, in a bowl, we are going to put our dried cherries along with some roughly chopped figs. I sliced mine relatively evenly so we could get some good cross sections, and then I just did a rough chop across. To the dried fruit, we are going to add our liquids. So it's going to be 1/3 cup of hot water. I heated mine to between 150 and 170 degrees Fahrenheit, along with 1/3 cup of brandy. So it's 1-to-1 water to brandy. And then once that is added, we're going to pop in 2 star anise pods along with a cinnamon stick that I snapped in half and 3 tablespoons of dark brown sugar. And then just to make sure that the fruit is completely submerged, we're going to add equal parts water and brandy again, mix that together to make sure the sugar is dissolved, and then we are going to cover this and let it sit for anywhere between 2 to 24 hours. We want to give the dried fruit a chance to rehydrate and absorb as much of that liquid as possible. Okay, so you'll know it's ready when the fruit are nice and plump and soft and have like doubled their original size. So we're going to transfer this to a pot over medium heat, and then we are going to remove the star anise pods and the cinnamon stick. We are going to bring this up to a boil for anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. We want the mixture to coat the back of the spoon and get kind of syrupy. It's really, really thin right now. We also want to boil off as much of that alcohol as possible. And you'll see here it reduced quite a bit and it looks really nice and dark. And it started to coat the spatula. So I took it off the heat and we're gonna let that cool. Moving on to the porridge itself. So in a large saucepan, we're going to combine our water and our sweet and condensed milk. Due to how viscous and sticky the sweet and condensed milk is, I combined these separately before I added in my dry ingredients just because I wanted to minimize clump risk. I really, really hate when porridge or cream of wheat really gets like those little clumps in it, and it gives me the ick. So we're gonna combine these together until it's one even substance, add our orange blossom water, and then once that's mixed, we'll add in our semolina flour, our vanilla bean powder, and our salt. We'll go ahead and give that a stir, and then we're going to let this cook on like medium to medium low heat for anywhere between 3 to 7 minutes, depending on how thick you like your porridge. While that cooks and starts to thicken, I'm going to be cutting some pats of butter and give some roasted pistachios a rough chop. You'll see it starts to bubble quite a bit. That's the sign that it's starting, it thickens from the bottom up, so you want to stir occasionally so it doesn't just kind of glump on the bottom, and then when you go to serve there's like a big clump of cream of wheat. Again, gross. So we're going to make sure this thickens evenly. Once it's gotten to a stage we like, we're going to add in our pats of butter and our half and half and whisk that together. Now, even with the butter and the half and half, it still will continue to thicken as long as you have it over heat. So keep an eye on it, make sure that it comes to a consistency you like. I also recommend taking a spoon or a spatula and running it around the edges just to make sure that there aren't any clumps. You'll see I had a couple clumps that weren't fully integrated. Once those are exposed, then I like to use my whisk and really bring it together. Make sure you're also tasting your food as you go and season appropriately. I added a little more salt, and you'll see it's thickened back up to close to the original consistency I had it before I added the butter and salt. Now that it's off the heat, let's serve. So in a bowl, we're gonna put down our semolina porridge, and then on top of that, we're going to add our fig compote. And with the compote, make sure you give yourself a nice swirl or two with the syrup that we made. That is a ton of flavor. It adds a lot of depth. It's really nice. On top of that, add some of those chopped roasted pistachios, along with a nice helping of goat cheese crumbles. And it's time for a taste test.
Okay, that's really good. Shut up.
Okay, time for final thoughts. And I have quite a few final thoughts, so stick with me. First, I think this is absolutely a dessert. I could not see myself having this for breakfast. I also could not finish the serving. I made enough for 4. I served, 4 servings. I could not finish mine. It went in the fridge for leftovers. I think that's partially due to how sweet this is. Now, it's not cloyingly sweet where it kind of like burns your tongue. Like if you have like a chocolate chip cookie or something, it can kind of burn a little. It was sweet in an overwhelming sense because of the many types of sugars we had going on. I think the syrup did a lot for the porridge. The rehydrated figs and cherries did a lot for the porridge. And then also, you have 113 grams, a little over 28 grams, I think, per serving of sweetened condensed milk in each thing of porridge. I think because of how sweet it was and heavy on the dairy as well, it sat heavy on the back of my tongue with the aftertaste. It was a pleasant aftertaste. You mostly felt the orange blossom in the aftertaste. I think because of that, I would have added maybe some candied ginger or just ginger itself and maybe some more citrus to the fig and cherry compote. I think also I would make the compote as a standalone item, maybe serve that with some prosciutto and goat cheese as part of like a charcuterie board, or serve that with some ham for something else. I think one of the other issues I had with this recipe is that the only seasonings you had for the porridge itself came from sweetened condensed milk, which again is just milk and sugar that's been boiled down for a long period of time, and then the vanilla powder and salt, and that's it. I think I would add and I think that this is where the fig compote really shined, is that it had star anise notes, it had complicated notes from the brandy, and it had notes from the cinnamon. I think I would have added some cinnamon to the porridge, maybe some nutmeg. I think that would have been pretty good. Maybe some allspice or clove. Clove would have been really good in this as well. But I think I would have spiced things up a bit. The vanilla, there was a lot of vanilla. It was like I was being beaten in the face by vanilla. It was so overwhelmingly vanilla. And to some people that's great, but it just wasn't not my preference. I do think the star of this show though was the goat cheese, and I think it's because of the tang in the goat cheese and how it brightened everything up, like I said before. Definitely do not make this without the goat cheese. But that being said, I did enjoy this. I probably will not make it again the way it's written. I think I would cut back on the sweetened condensed milk and make some of the changes I mentioned before. But it was pleasant. So if you want to try this, I would recommend it. Maybe take into consideration some of the things I said. But, that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. All right, with that being said, thank you so much, adventurers, for sticking around and watching today's video. If you liked what you saw, please go ahead and smash that like button. If you are not subscribed, we would love to have you. If you would like to subscribe, we do things all food and fantasy here at Underdark Cellars. We've got some exciting stuff coming up, and to make sure you don't miss out on that, ring the bell for notifications so you know when new videos go live. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.